may be surprised to learn that a century ago, one of the most popular stars of American show business was a female impersonator, Julian Eling.
Now, if life begins at 40, as you've oftentimes heard it told, our span of life is 5 short years because at 45 we're old.
Do you think you know everything about old Hollywood? Think again. Beneath the glamour of the golden age were secrets that few dared to mention, until now. Some of the biggest stars of that time weren't just acting on screen, they were living double lives off it. With perfect appearances and carefully built identities, they hid their true selves while facing immense pressure and showing incredible bravery. What if some of Hollywood's famous leading ladies were actually born male? You're about to discover shocking truths that even insiders didn't see coming. Buckle up, because the deeper we go, the crazier it gets. 15. Julian Eling, the original master of illusion.
That a century ago, one of the most popular stars of American show business was a female impersonator, Julian Eling. At the height of his fame, Eling had his own magazine.
Before shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, there was Julian Eling, a performer who wowed audiences across America with his remarkable stage transformations. Born William Julian Dalton in 1881, Eling became famous in the early 1900s for portraying women so convincingly that audiences were left in awe. He wasn't just a niche performer, he was a household name. His fame was so significant that a Broadway theater was named after him in 1912. Eling's success was built on his meticulous attention to detail. He didn't just wear costumes and makeup, he studied the way women moved, spoke, and behaved, making his performances seem incredibly realistic. To maintain a traditional masculine image offstage, Eling posed for photos engaging in activities like boxing and smoking cigars, highlighting the complexities of gender identity and public perception at the time. His fame even reached the silver screen, where he starred in silent films, including The Isle of Love, acting alongside a young Rudolph Valentino. At his peak, Eling was among the highest-paid entertainers, earning what would now be tens of thousands of dollars a week. However, as societal views shifted in the 1920s, his career began to decline. By the 1930s, performing in women's clothing had become less accepted, and new laws made it difficult for acts like his to survive. Eventually, he was no longer allowed to wear women's clothing, and his career ended with him merely discussing women's outfits rather than performing in them. When Eling died in 1941, much of the world had forgotten him, despite his groundbreaking contributions to entertainment. His story is a reminder of how quickly fame can fade and how changing social norms can erase even the most influential figures. 14. Bert Seavoy, the master of bold humor and glamour. While Julian Eling gained fame for his convincing portrayals of women, Bert Seavoy took a different approach to stardom. Born Everett Mackenzie. Seavoy, he became a vaudeville sensation by creating a larger-than-life, exaggerated female persona that was full of humor and boldness. His act was loud, dramatic, and full of flair, with bright red hair, heavy makeup, and extravagant costumes. Rather than trying to pass as a real woman, Seavoy embraced the artifice, making it clear that his act was all about fun and humor. His famous line, "You don't know the half of it, dearie," became a popular catchphrase in the 1920s. Seavoy's influence even extended to Hollywood. Mae West, known for her seductive charm and wit, is said to have drawn inspiration from Seavoy's act. Some even believe that West's iconic persona was shaped by a man impersonating a woman, showcasing the complex layers of gender roles in entertainment. Tragically, Seavoy's life ended in a dramatic and ironic way. In 1923, during a thunderstorm, he pointed at the sky after a lightning strike and joked, "That'll be me, darling." Moments later, he was struck by lightning and died instantly, as if his death were scripted in a play. Despite his massive influence, Seavoy's legacy has largely been forgotten. As Hollywood became more conservative in the 1930s, his groundbreaking performances were considered too controversial, and his impact faded into obscurity. 13. Ray Bourbon, the rebel performer who was erased from history.
Now when your steps go slightly slower and you puff along the way, and you're using hair restore on the few in front that are gray.
Ray Bourbon was one of the most daring performers of the pre-code era, pushing boundaries that even today's celebrities might shy away from. Born Hal Wadsworth, though some dispute the name, Bourbon was unapologetically open about his personal life, which made him a target as authorities began cracking down on female impersonation. His performances were designed to challenge and shock, often venturing into controversial territory. He even released comedy albums like Hilarious Songs for Gay Lades, which featured material that was well ahead of its time. These albums were so provocative that many record stores refused to sell them, forcing Bourbon to promote them at his live shows. As the 1930s and 1940s saw a rise in conservative attitudes, Bourbon's performances were relegated to underground clubs and gay bars. His life took a tragic turn in 1968 when, at the age of 76, he was arrested for murder. Bourbon died in prison in 1971 while serving his sentence. Despite his significant influence on future artists, Bourbon has been largely forgotten by mainstream entertainment history. His erasure speaks volumes about how certain figures are left out of the historical record. 12th, Barbett, the artist who redefined gender through performance. In the 1920s and 1930s, Barbett was not just a female impersonator, he was an artist challenging the boundaries of gender. Born Vanderlei Broadway in Texas, his act combined breathtaking aerial stunts with a unique exploration of gender identity. Barbett would begin his performance with graceful trapeze work dressed as an elegant woman, but then reveal his true masculine identity by removing his wig, making a powerful statement about the fluidity of gender. His performances captivated audiences and caught the attention of intellectuals and artists in Europe, especially those in the surrealist and avant-garde circles. Barbett performed at prestigious venues like the Casino de Paris and the London Palladium, reaching both American and European audiences. Despite his groundbreaking impact on performance art, Barbett's legacy has been largely forgotten, even though his obituary appeared in the New York Times when he passed away in 1973. 11th, Carol Norman, a revolutionary performer who defied boundaries. Carol Norman, known as the Creole Fashion Plate, was a groundbreaking performer who pushed boundaries in vaudeville with his unique style. Born George Paduti in Baltimore around 1897, Norman's performances defied simple categorization by blending gender, racial, and cultural elements. Unlike other female impersonators, he showcased remarkable vocal talent, singing in both male and female ranges, and switching between them during a single song. His ability earned him the nickname Creole Fashion Plate, with fashion plate, referencing his elaborate costumes and Creole nodding to the racially ambiguous identity he often portrayed. Norman's costume changes were legendary, with up to 6 different looks in a single show, each reflecting a distinct female character. While he was white, his act played with racial and cultural ambiguity, often incorporating what audiences of the time saw as exotic elements. Despite his significant impact, Norman's legacy has largely faded from mainstream culture. Though he was once a top-billed headliner, today his name is scarcely remembered, reflecting how some performers were erased from entertainment history. 10th, Jean Malin, a groundbreaking performer whose life ended too soon. Jean Malin, born Jean Malin in Brooklyn in 1908, had a brief yet impactful career as one of the first openly gay performers in America. His ability to present both male and female personas on stage created a fluid representation of gender long before the term was coined. By the late 1920s, Malin was a regular in New York's speakeasies and clubs, particularly those popular with the LGBTQ+ community. In 1930, at the height of his fame, He earned $250 a week, equivalent to about $4,000 today, performing at the Palace in Los Angeles, making him one of the first openly gay entertainers to perform in mainstream venues. He also appeared in films like Arizona to Broadway in 1933. Sadly, Malin's life ended in 1933 at the age of 25 when his car crashed into a pier after a performance at the Ship Cafe in Venice, California. Because people back then weren't accepting of gay performers, some believed his death wasn't just an accident, even though nothing was ever proven. Despite his short life, Malin's influence as a trailblazer in entertainment remains significant. 9. Francis Renault, master of fashion and historical impersonation. Francis Renault, known on stage as the Slave of Fashion, took female impersonation to a new level by merging it with high fashion and historical accuracy. Born Antonio Oraima in Naples, Italy, around 1893, he carved out a unique niche in vaudeville by combining elaborate costumes with meticulous research into historical figures and fashion trends. What set Renault apart was his commitment to recreating famous historical figures like Cleopatra, Catherine the Great, and Queen Victoria, with incredible attention to detail. His costumes, sometimes costing as much as $50,000 in today's money, were works of art. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Renault treated his performances as an artistic expression, studying women's movements and mannerisms to create authentic portrayals. His focus on historical fashion gave his performances an educational aspect, offering audiences a unique way to engage with history. Despite his groundbreaking work in both entertainment and fashion, Renault has been largely forgotten by mainstream culture, highlighting how those who challenge traditional gender roles are often erased from history. 8. Glattis Bentley, challenging gender norms in 1920s Harlem. In the lively jazz scene of the 1920s, Harlem, Glattis Bentley stood out as a bold and electrifying performer. Unlike others on our list, Bentley's story is unique. Born female, she gained fame by performing in men's clothing, challenging traditional gender roles in a groundbreaking way. As part of the Harlem Renaissance, Bentley performed at iconic venues like the Clam House and the Ubangi Club. She was known for her signature white tuxedo, top hat, piano playing, and singing blues songs with provocative lyrics that even shocked Harlem's progressive crowds. Standing over 6 feet tall and weighing 250 pounds, she embraced a masculine look, occasionally sporting a thin mustache. What made Bentley truly remarkable was her openness about her identity as a lesbian during a time when it was taboo. She reportedly married a white woman in a private ceremony, defying societal norms. In the 1950s, facing the pressures of the McCarthy era, Bentley claimed to have undergone hormone treatments and even said she married a man, though it remains unclear if this was a real change or a reaction to the political climate. Glattis Bentley passed away in 1960 at 52. While she made a lasting impact on both music and LGBTQ+ history, much of her pioneering work went unrecognized during her lifetime. 7. Billy Tipton, a groundbreaking journey of gender identity and music. Billy Tipton's story is one of the most fascinating and complex tales of gender identity in the entertainment world.
Billy Tipton became a legend in the golden age of jazz. He performed with giants like Sinatra and the Duke. He was a family man, a scoutmaster.
A talented jazz musician, Billy played the piano and saxophone in bands across the United States from the 1930s to the 1970s. He led a seemingly normal life, marrying multiple times, adopting 3 children, and building a career that made him a respected figure in jazz. However, after his death in 1989 at 74, it was revealed that Billy had been assigned female at birth and had lived his adult life as a man without anyone, his wives, children, or bandmates, knowing his true birth sex. His story stands as one of the most successful and complete gender transformations in American entertainment. Born Dorothy Lucille Tipton in Oklahoma in 1914, Billy began presenting as male in the 1930s, initially due to the better opportunities available to male musicians. Over time, this evolved into a deeply held personal identity. Billy's ability to maintain his male identity in his private life was extraordinary. He had multiple long-term relationships with women, including several marriages, and his partners later claimed they had no idea about his birth sex. Billy crafted elaborate explanations, telling his partners that he had suffered a chest injury and needed to bind his chest. Unlike others in the entertainment world who performed gender roles on stage but lived as their assigned gender offstage, Billy's transformation was permanent and authentic, challenging common assumptions about gender identity and performance.
Billy Tipton was really a woman, and nobody knew. He sacrificed his womanhood for the sake of art.
6th, T.C. Jones, reviving female impersonation with artistry and class. As Hollywood shifted into the more conservative 1950s, female impersonation had almost disappeared from mainstream entertainment. That is, until T.C. Jones reintroduced it with a refined theatrical style that surprisingly gained acceptance during the era of Eisenhower and McCarthy. Born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Jones crafted a performance that took female impersonation beyond simple vaudeville comedy and turned it into a respected art form. What made Jones unique was his focus on portraying famous celebrities rather than just generic female roles. His impressions of stars like Tallulah Bankhead, Bette Davis, and Katharine Hepburn weren't exaggerated caricatures. Instead, they were detailed character studies that captured not only their appearances, but also their mannerisms, voices, and unique personalities. Jones achieved what seemed impossible in the 1950s, a mainstream breakthrough for female impersonation. His one-man show, Mask and Gown, premiered in Los Angeles in 1957 and was successful enough to move to Broadway the next year. Critics saw his work as serious acting, with some even comparing his transformations to that of professional character actors. Unlike earlier female impersonators who performed in nightclubs or vaudeville, Jones appeared on mainstream television, including shows like The Ed Sullivan Show and What's My Line. He also made it into Hollywood films, with a role in the 1968 film Funny Girl, starring Barbra Streisand. Though his role was small, his presence in a major studio production marked a significant step forward for female impersonators, as most were still excluded from mainstream films at the time. What made Jones's success especially notable was the rigid gender expectations of the 1950s. In an era where conformity to traditional masculinity and femininity was strongly enforced, Jones's ability to gain acceptance and even acclaim for crossing gender boundaries shows both his immense talent and strategic approach. Jones's legacy lies in how he bridged the gap between the old vaudeville-style female impersonation and the modern art form of drag. By emphasizing theatrical skill and celebrity impressions over simple gender impersonations, he laid the groundwork for future performers, inspiring artists like Craig Russell, Charles Pierce, and even today's drag performers. 5. Jim Bailey, master of celebrity illusions on primetime television. During the rise of television in the 1960s and 70s, Jim Bailey became one of the most recognized performers of his kind. Unlike others who simply dressed as women, Bailey specialized in lifelike portrayals of real female celebrities.
This is Jim Bailey, and he does some of the most fantastic impressions of female stars we've ever seen,
leaving audiences stunned with his accuracy. His most memorable act was portraying Judy Garland. Bailey didn't just resemble her, he also sounded exactly like her. Even Garland's daughter, Liza Minnelli, was amazed by his talent and became one of his close friends. His vocal imitation was so convincing that listeners often couldn't tell if it was Bailey or Garland herself. He captured not just her looks and voice, but the emotional depth that made Garland such a powerful figure. Bailey also performed as other stars like Barbra Streisand and Peggy Lee with the same level of skill. His emotional, detailed performances gained him spots on major TV shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, The Tonight Show, and The Carol Burnett Show during prime time, a huge accomplishment for the time. What set Bailey apart was his approach. He didn't label his performances as drag, but treated them as serious acting, focusing on skill and artistry. This helped audiences view his work as genuine performance, not just a gender expression, and opened doors for other performers by showing that gender impersonation could be accepted by the mainstream. 4. Danny Laroo, Britain's star performer in glamorous disguise. Heading over to the UK, one of the most widely recognized and successful performers who dressed as a woman was Danny Laroo. Unlike many others in the same field, he became incredibly popular in Britain and earned more money than most entertainers doing similar work. Born as Daniel Patrick Carroll in Ireland, Danny turned heads with his over-the-top, glitzy stage look that won the hearts of people all across the country. His shows were famous for being big and beautiful, almost like something you'd expect to see on Broadway. The outfits he wore on stage weren't simple. They were designed by well-known fashion experts and often cost a fortune. These heavy, sparkling costumes were so fancy that he had to build up strength just to wear them comfortably while performing. While most performers in this style worked in smaller venues or stayed behind the scenes, Danny broke into the mainstream. He even owned a well-known nightclub in London's busy West End, simply called Danny's, which became a popular place for celebrities and even members of the royal family. It's said that Princess Margaret was especially fond of his acts, showing that his performances had earned serious respect. Danny didn't just stick to the stage. He appeared regularly on British television and even hosted his own shows. His holiday specials were a big hit, becoming a part of many families' festive traditions and bringing his unique style into homes across the UK. Part of what helped Danny win over such a broad audience was how he explained his work. Instead of calling himself a female impersonator, he said he was a comedian in a dress, which helped people see his act as fun and harmless. He also made sure to appear as himself in interviews, not in costume, making it clear that the characters he played were part of his job, not his personal identity. Danny Laroo's lasting impact comes from how he made this type of performance not only acceptable, but widely loved. Through dazzling stage setups, gentle humor, and smart public image choices, he helped move gender-based entertainment into the spotlight, proving it could be just as successful as anything else on the big stage. 3. Craig Russell, a performer who changed the stage. As the world began to open up to new ideas in the 1970s, Craig Russell stood out as a performer who brought something fresh to the art of dressing and acting like famous women. Born in Toronto, he didn't just copy the looks of movie legends, he studied them in great detail. From old films to interviews, he learned their voices, movements, and personalities so well that his stage performances felt like the real thing. What made Craig's shows special was how deeply he understood the stars he portrayed. Whether it was Judy Garland, Bette Davis, or Mae West, he didn't just act like them, he captured their spirit. His ability to mimic every little detail made his work feel more like art than entertainment. Craig became known around the world after starring in the 1977 movie Outrageous. This film was one of the first to put a drag artist in the lead role, and it received praise from both critics and audiences. The movie gave Craig a chance to show his talents in a meaningful story, not just in short stage skits. Unlike some performers before him who tried to hide parts of their identity, Craig was more open about being gay. At a time when that could harm someone's career, his honesty helped others feel seen and supported. He also helped bring more openness to discussions around gender performance in public spaces. Craig Russell was incredibly talented, able to do accurate impressions of many stars, each with its own style and energy. His performances helped shape how drag is viewed today, creating a bridge between old-school impersonation and the modern drag scene. 2. Divine. the rule-breaking icon who changed drag forever. Craig Russell impressed audiences by switching between multiple famous female characters in one performance, with each transformation involving not just costumes, but a complete shift in voice, posture, and mood. This skill allowed him to introduce classic Hollywood legends to younger generations, creating a powerful link between past stars and new audiences. But among groundbreaking performers, one figure truly shattered expectations: Divine. Born Harris Glenn Milstead in Baltimore, Divine crafted a drag persona that was anything but conventional. He rejected the polished, elegant style of typical female impersonation and instead embraced exaggeration, shock, and rebellion. With dramatic makeup, a large frame, and fearless energy, Divine never aimed to look traditionally feminine. He used his appearance to challenge the very idea of what gender is. Working with filmmaker John Waters, Divine starred in cult classics like Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, and Polyester. These films were bold, controversial, and unforgettable. They didn't just entertain, they exposed the performative nature of gender and mocked the rules of polite society. Divine wasn't trying to be beautiful, he was making a point. At a time when drag was expected to be glamorous and safe, Divine stood out with a wild, aggressive, and often shocking style that demanded attention. He turned his body into a form of protest, confronting ideas about beauty, identity, and behavior. His drag wasn't about illusion, it was about truth, even when that truth was uncomfortable. Divine's impact reached beyond underground film. In the 1988 movie Hairspray, he played the role of Edna Turnblad, a character that was outrageous yet lovable. The film introduced Divine's drag to a mainstream audience and helped reshape public attitudes toward drag performers. He also found success in music, releasing club hits like You Think You're a Man and I'm So Beautiful. These songs brought his powerful presence to dance floors around the world, further expanding his influence. Divine's sudden death in 1988 came just as he was gaining wider fame. With Hairspray opening new doors, many believe his career was only beginning to reach its full potential. Even in his absence, Divine's legacy lives on, inspiring generations of drag artists, challenging stereotypes, and proving that drag can be loud, political, funny, and unapologetically real. Charles Pierce, the performer who blended talent with depth. Charles Pierce is widely regarded as one of the most talented and influential female impersonators of the 20th century. Hailing from Watertown, New York, he built a reputation for turning impressions of famous Hollywood actresses into vivid, lifelike performances. Pierce's brilliance lay in how he captured not just the looks or voices of stars like Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Tallulah Bankhead, and Katharine Hepburn, but their personalities and emotional depth. He didn't rely on heavy makeup or elaborate costumes. With just a few small props and a simple outfit, he used his voice, posture, and expressions to bring characters to life on stage. What made his act stand out was the way he revealed the contrast between a celebrity's public image and their private struggles. His performances were more than entertainment, they gave audiences something to think about. Unlike many impersonators of his time, Pierce delivered his lines and songs live, showing remarkable vocal skill. This approach helped him gain respect in mainstream entertainment and break through barriers faced by gender non-conforming performers. Performing at top venues like the Coconut Grove in Los Angeles and the Plaza Hotel's Persian Room in New York, Pierce earned recognition not just as an impersonator, but as a serious and skilled artist. His work created a bridge between classic female impersonation and the emotionally rich drag performances seen today. And just like that, we've uncovered a side of Hollywood that rarely gets the spotlight, where bold performers rewrote the rules and reshaped what entertainment could be. From illusionists who could become anyone to fearless icons who tore down barriers, these trailblazers didn't just perform, they made history. If this exploration revealed something new about showbiz, stay tuned. There's plenty more to uncover. Share which story caught your attention, or suggest other hidden aspects of pop culture you'd like us to explore. Thanks for joining us, and remember, the most impactful stories are often the ones left untold.